Sony just fixed one of the PS5's most annoying issues. Today we've got news on a brand new AAA studio, we've got every game you can expect for the rest of the year, and we have all the details on the SSD upgrade for the PS5. And real quick before we get into this PlayStation news, I just noticed that 80% of you aren't subscribed, and all 80% of you, I don't even know what percentage of the viewership that is, should subscribe to the channel right now and set your notifications to all. So a couple months back, we talked about this huge expose about the internal workings of PlayStation that involved Days Gone, Ben's Studio, Naughty Dog, The Last of Us. All of that kind of came together in the way that Days Gone's reviews really hurt that studio, and they came to Sony with a pitch for Days Gone 2, and Sony was like, yeah, well, even though this game was profitable, it didn't get great reviews, so we're gonna have you work on a remake of The Last of Us and the multiplayer mode for The Last of Us Part 2, which still hasn't been officially announced, but we all know it's being worked on. And then over at Naughty Dog, the team that was working on that Last of Us remake had it taken away from them and given to the A team over at Naughty Dog, so then a bunch of people from that team left, and now we know what they all ended up doing. There's a new studio that was just formed to work on AAA games called That's No Moon Studios, which is a weird name for a studio that isn't just being announced to work on Star Wars games, because as we all know, That's No Moon is a direct reference to Star Wars, but they're saying they want to create their own characters and their own IP and make AAA action adventure games that kind of also bleed into TV and movies. They basically want to be a huge studio that does a lot of stuff that doesn't seem like it involves Star Wars, but they did get a lot of key talent. They obviously got these people from Naughty Dog, they got a bunch of people who used to work on Call of Duty, they got people from EA. It's basically like a big conglomerate of huge names from around the industry that wants to work on new stuff. Now we've seen this happen before, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Like, it's usually like a bunch of big ideas happen, and then the game that comes out is way different than what was initially announced, or nothing comes out at all and a bunch of people leave the studio. And obviously it's way too early to tell whether or not we're gonna be seeing anything cool out of these guys, but if I was Sony, I feel like this is a studio that's worth me at least checking out to see if it's worth acquiring, because we know Microsoft is swinging around all of their money trying to buy all the studios they can, and this is a huge new AAA studio, so Sony could get in a little early and spend a little bit of cash before they have anything to show to say, yeah, we want to make sure anything they make at this big new AAA studio is exclusive. Also, just hearing that they're making a AAA open world action adventure game, that feels like exactly what Sony would want to pick up, since all they make are third person open world AAA action adventure games. It's what they know, so if they want to make sure the studio actually puts out something good, it's mutually beneficial both ways if Sony does pick them up. But yeah, I usually wouldn't care all too much about a new studio getting announced. I just noticed how much high profile talent was here and how this directly related to PlayStation. So this is definitely one we're going to have to keep an eye on. But the biggest PS5 update I have for you guys this week is that our merch store got updated. So not only do we have this awesome blue Spider-Man PS5 shirt where he's holding a DualSense and saying my DualSense is tingling, it's good wordplay with Spider-Man. And we also have some cool stuff like prints and stickers. So if you want to check that out, it's right below this video in the merch shelf, and we'll also have a link to it in the description. One of the biggest things that was being talked about over this past weekend was the Halo Infinite technical preview, which kind of went off pretty well. It was available on Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC. The Xbox Series X version ran really well. A lot of people were having a ton of fun with it. On PC, it was a little bit of a mess. It was kind of hard to get it running at 60 frames per second. You also had to run it at all low settings, and getting it to run full screen was a little bit of a challenge, but once you actually got in the game, it was a ton of fun. Of course, since this is a beta and data mining exists, a lot of info actually got into it that wasn't supposed to be there. Like, basically the entire story for Halo Infinite was in this beta, people were able to find it, and of course the entire thing leaked. Now, because the console wars are going stronger than ever thanks to Game Pass actually getting Microsoft some console sales, some fanboys on the PlayStation side are finding these story details and they're spamming them all over Twitter on people's replies. They're just tweeting them out. They're quote retweeting stuff with massive Halo Infinite spoilers. So if you're one of those people who has a PC and a PS5 or an Xbox and a PS5, you should just take this warning to be careful when you're looking around on Twitter, because those Halo Infinite story spoilers are out there. And these are actually confirmed to be real by 343 themselves. They basically said, yeah, we did ship story spoilers in the beta. Sorry guys. So yeah, we have to wait like until November to play this game, it looks like, or even December. There's only a few more months left, thankfully, but Spoiling your biggest game of the year and also your first real first-party game, Microsoft, not the coolest thing to do in my opinion. So now that we know Horizon Forbidden West is probably getting delayed out of 2021, I wanted to make sure that we still had some stuff to be excited for in the rest of the year, and there are some cool games to look forward to, thankfully. First up, on August 20th, we have the re-release of Ghost of Tsushima on PS5, which is not only giving us graphical updates, it's giving us controller updates to make sure it uses the DualSense right. We're also getting the Iki expansion, and you get lip syncing with the Japanese audio. So these are some pretty cool updates. So if you've never played Ghost of Tsushima, you should definitely pick it up on your PS5. And if you have played it before, I feel like it's worth checking out again for the graphic updates alone, but also there's that new expansion. So that's a nice update we have to look forward to. And then 1 month later in September, Death Stranding is getting its director's cut, which is only a $10 upgrade on PS4. And I've noticed that Death Stranding on PS4 has sold for like $9.99. So if you've never played Death Stranding, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a cool successor to the Metal Gear franchise, and it looks like Metal Gear is directly influencing this director's cut update because we're getting stealth, we're getting more combat, we're getting new boss fights, more story updates. This is a much bigger update, it seems, than the Ghost of Tsushima one. So yeah, if you've never played Death Stranding, definitely check that out. And then also in September, we have Deathloop, which is a Bethesda game, which is crazy because now we're getting a Microsoft published PS5 exclusive. It's only going to be exclusive for a year, but it looks really cool. It looks like they're taking everything they learned on Wolfenstein Youngblood about how to make a shooter, and they're combining it with everything they learned making Dishonored to make a first-person shooter Dishonored game, and that is everything I've ever asked for from Arcane. So I'm very excited for that one. And also for you PC players, that one's on PC day one. And then again, if you're an Xbox player who really wants to play it, you're only gonna have to wait a year, don't worry. A big cross-platform game we have to look forward to in October is Back 4 Blood. That one's interesting because it's the people who made Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2's new game, which is basically Left 4 Dead 3. That one is going to be on Game Pass day one, which is kind of a bummer for us PlayStation players, but I feel like on console, it'll probably have the biggest audience on PlayStation because there are way more PlayStations out there than there are Xboxes at this point. One of the best indie games over the past few years is Hades. That one started out on PC, then it came to Nintendo Switch, then it came to Game Pass, and now that's coming out on August 13th. So if you're looking for a cool roguelite with awesome combat and an actually pretty good story, you should check that one out. I think it's only gonna be like 15 bucks too, so there's your incentive there. Also in October, we're getting the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I feel like doesn't really have a lot of hype because in the trailer they showed off, the only thing that was being fought was weird jelly squares. They're like jello squares that hop around. It was an odd trailer for sure, but the gameplay does look pretty cool. The combat looks like a lot of fun, and managing the team, that aspect of it really appeals to me. And then of course, the biggest game that'll never die, GTA 5, is getting its PS5 upgrade, which seems like it's going to be free if you already own the game on PS4. So that'll be really fun to replay the story if you haven't since 2013. And finally, Dying Light 2 looks like it's actually coming out at the end of this year. That game was announced a long time ago, and it really seemed like when it was announced that it wasn't going to be a current gen game, and now they're like, yeah, this is going to be a next gen title with awesome next gen features, and it really seems like it's going to be good, which is awesome because Dying Light 1 was a sleeper hit for me. Like, I was really excited because it was a zombie game, and then it came out and it was getting okay reviews, but I bought it day one, played it all weekend, did everything you possibly could in that game. I've played every expansion since. It's like so underrated in my opinion. So if you haven't played Dying Light, you should definitely grab that next time it's on sale. I've seen it go on sale for like $5. So yeah, while we don't have a ton of first party releases for the rest of the year, it looks like we're going to have some really cool stuff to play on our PS5s. So far we have 3 different DualSense options between white, black, and cosmic red, but McDonald's wanted to get in on the action. So far we have 3 different DualSense options right now between the white, the black, and the cosmic red, but now we have this brand new custom edition that's the McDonald's French fries edition. So over in Australia, McDonald's is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and to celebrate the occasion, they customized a white DualSense to give away to people, and honestly, it's kind of a cool controller. Like, if I collected controllers, this would be one that I was really trying hard to get, but it just got a lot harder to get because Sony saw this and said, no, you are not releasing this custom DualSense with French fries on it. But it looks like they kind of put the cart before the horse on this one because they didn't actually ask Sony if it was okay to give away a DualSense that they customized. And once again, Sony saw this and was like, no, you're not doing this stream. So instead of just postponing the giveaway, McDonald's just said, nah, we're just canceling our 50th anniversary stream altogether for now. We might do it later if we can reach an agreement with Sony to give away these customized DualSense controllers. So basically what Sony did is they increased the value on these controllers by like $1 billion, right? Like if this controller controller was hard to get from McDonald's. It would have been worth a little bit more than probably a regular DualSense, but now that Sony said, no, you can't give it away, that's just gonna skyrocket the value for anyone who manages to get them. Like when Nintendo Labo came out, I remember how pissed the people who collect every single Joy-Con were because they made this custom Nintendo Switch that was cardboard colored, and it came with cardboard colored Joy-Cons, and the only way to get it was in a giveaway. And they made so few of them that there just like was no possible way for these people who collect every Joy-Con to get it. The value on those things is absolutely insane, and I can totally see that happening with this McDonald's DualSense if one of these gets out into the wild. Some of the biggest backlash Sony has received so far with the DualSense that I'm sure they weren't expecting is that it's really hard to update this controller. So the way it works right now is that if there is an update for the DualSense and you turn on your PS5, there will be a menu that comes up that says, hey, there's a DualSense update available, plug in your DualSense and hit the PS button, we'll update it for you right now. This really wasn't that big of a deal until people realized the DualSense had a pretty glaring error in which that it couldn't really vibrate right when you were playing PS4 games. Sony updated that and people really wanted to get in on that update, and then they realized that they were skipping the update screen, and then they had to screw with the clock on their PS5 to set it forward 24 hours. It was a real big pain in the butt. And then also the battery indicator on the DualSense was screwed up, so it would show low battery when the controller was at 50%. And if your controller is at 50%, you keep plugging it in and charging it back up to 100, that's really bad for the battery. So that was 2 times when Sony had to deal with people complaining that they couldn't get their controllers to update right. Thankfully, Sony listened though, and in the new PS5 update, they added the ability to update your DualSense controller just from the accessory menu, which is what should have been there from the beginning, but yeah. If you grab this new update now while it's in beta, you can update your controller that way, and also when this officially releases, everyone else will be able to do the same thing. And another big update that's coming along with this beta is related to trophies. So right now, the trophy menu is a complete mess. It's really unintuitive, it's hard to get to, it's organized in a really stupid way. Sony is just giving in and saying, fine, we're gonna make it vertically oriented so that it looks exactly like it did on the PS4, which was perfectly fine. I don't know why they changed it in the first place, but I'm glad Sony is listening to people's complaints and directly changing the way the console works based on that. But of course, the biggest update that's coming along with this software beta is the ability to finally install a brand new SSD into your PS5. But of course, because it's Sony, there are a ton of caveats here that we have to talk about. So first off, you're going to need a very fast SSD with a heatsink to be able to do this at all. And there are only 2 different types of SSDs you can buy on the market right now that support the PS5. The first option you have is the WD Black SN850, which comes in a bunch of different memory sizes that range anywhere from like $100 all the way up to like $400. They get pretty expensive, but the thing you need to pay attention to, no matter what size you get, is that it has the heatsink, because some of the options don't have the heatsink, and if the heatsink is not there, it will not work in the PS5. The other option you have is the Seagate FireCuda 530, which also comes in a bunch of different variants. Again, just make sure it has the heatsink and you should be good to go. Now there is also a Gigabyte option that should work in the PS5 based on its specs, but Sony basically said, yeah, we haven't tested that one yet, we don't know if it'll work. So if you're gonna get an SSD for your PS5, just go with the 2 that Sony says will work right out of the box, because then you'll save yourself a headache potentially. I've got a headache talking about this. I can't even think about putting a drive in my PS5 and having it not work. And if you look at the page on Sony's website that explains how to do all of this, they're basically saying, yeah, we would hold off for now, even though we are updating the PS5 to allow this. We don't exactly know if it's going to work out totally right out of the box, which is not a great thing to hear. The thing they're worried about is that even though these SSDs are about as fast as the one that's soldered into the motherboard, they're not exactly sure if the PS5 will be able to get the same speeds out of this external SSD, even though it has the same read writes as the one that they installed. I'm not exactly sure why they're not sure, but yeah, the way I would do this is I would get an external drive that's not an SSD, or it could be an SSD like a Samsung T5, and I would just move all of your PS4 games over to that and use that for your PS4 games. And then eventually when PS4 games stop coming out and all of your games have native PS5 releases, then you can start looking around and seeing if there are more SSDs that you can use, because I'm telling you right now, this just has potential headache written all over it. The fact that there's only 2 drives that are usable, the fact that there are so many different versions of these drives, the fact that some of them have heat sinks and some of them don't, the fact that some drives meet the specifications but Sony's saying, yeah, we don't know if these are gonna work, like, This just does not seem like it's ready to come out of beta yet. So if you're not running out of space on your PS5 or you're playing a lot of PS4 games, you can move to a drive you already have. I would stick with that for now and just let this get better, because I promise it'll get better, and in a few months it'll be all worked out. Like, if you want to wrestle with this, go ahead. I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I don't have that many PS5 games on my PS5 anyway, so there's no reason for me to screw with this except for the video I'm going to do where I screw with this, and you guys better cross your fingers for me that it works on my PS5. But yeah, guys, that's all the PlayStation news I have for you today. Make sure you let me know what you think of all of it down in the comments below. And remember, if you want to stay PS ready, subscribe and set your notifications to all. As always, guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.